What's good, everybody? It is a Super Triple JET here, and I think it's about that time to give you my review on Resident Evil 8 Village. Is it worth my time? What do I score this game? Let's get this started. So Resident Evil 8 Village is the 10th game in the Resident Evil franchise, and I feel like they had a lot of things to do to make sure this game did not go out bad. From being a sequel to the most successful Resident Evil game of all time, Resident Evil 7, to going on with a great remake but disappointing remake at the same time with 2 and 3 remake. They probably had a lot of things to do to make sure nothing bad came out. So did they do a good job? Let's start from the gameplay. The gameplay, I gotta say, it's very similar to Resident Evil 7, 2, and 3 remake. So I'm not really complaining about this because I'm not surprised. You know, they've been using the same engine since Resident Evil 7 and basically using the same mechanics. And I gotta say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I feel like it just feels like you're already used to how the game works already. So there's no reason for any of this changes, you know. They did enough changes for the actual story and the new gameplay elements that it just didn't bother me as much. You know, it just feels, you know, right at home, you know. It just wasn't really a big deal. But talking about the similar gameplay, like I stated, there's new things they added, or I like to say they brought back old things. So let's start from the attaché case they brought back from Resident Evil 4. And how the attaché case worked in Resident Evil 4 is, you know, you buy an item, it takes a certain amount of spots in the case because of the size, and you know, you just gotta find a way to work with it when your case gets full. If it gets full, you're gonna try your hardest to reorganize it like a Tetris game. And if it doesn't fit, you're just gonna have to give the weapon up or throw something away to add this new item. So they brought back that feature once again. It works the exact same, but unfortunately they didn't go the whole designing each item anymore. It just looks like, you know, just a highlight. It doesn't look fully detailed like it did in Resident Evil 4, where you actually saw how the gun looks, or how the shotgun looks, or how the first aid spray works. I'm glad they brought that feature back. It's just disappointing that they didn't go all the way with it. But speaking of that, they also had a new type of crafting system in this. So in previous titles, it has been shown that any kind of item that you carry, like gunpowder, health, chemical fluid, it always went to your normal item system. But this time they made a whole new item page. That's where it won't take up space in your attaching case, and that's where your crafting system things will go. Very similar to it was in Resident Evil with Dead Aim. So that was cool. But let's talk about the merchant. So they brought back the merchant system again that we haven't seen since Resident Evil 5. I'll give you even more. We haven't seen an actual physical merchant since Resident Evil 4. So they brought back the merchant feature, and it's very similar, just like the ones before. You know, the merchant, you buy and sell items, upgrade weapons, and there's the same thing as before. There's a couple of changes, don't get me wrong, like the merchant now lets you buy ammo, so that was interesting. And also the way that the health works, where having a limited supply for that section only. So, you know, a couple of changes for the point where the merchant felt more survival also. So it was kind of interesting how they worked that out. But he also added a new cooking feature where, you know, you get to kill a couple animals that are out in the, you know, the wild, you know, and you take it back to the merchant, and you can make some kind of health buff or defense buff or speed buff, whatever the case may be. And it was very interesting. But personally for me, I didn't even use it that often. It just wasn't a thing. If you saw my live stream, I tried to do it once. It was just whatever. Wasn't a big deal. So it was cool that they added that. Personally, I just didn't use it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people did when they played this game, so gotta give them some props. Next, let's talk about the enemy types. So the enemy types is very interesting because Resident Evil 7 did get a lot of criticism for not having a lot of unique enemy types, and I gotta agree with them too. The unique enemy types were just gone, because we basically had, you know, molded, bigger molded, a molded with a claw, you know, stuff like that, a crawling one. So it wasn't really unique. But this game, they took it up a notch and said, screw that, let's make a couple more unique type of, you know, enemy. So we got the Moral Light Gun for one. Moral Light Gun is basically a zombie ghoul type of character, with the hunchback, and sometimes with the teeth. Sometimes they go attack you straight on, but the more eye guns, a really unique character, really cool. And I really like what they did with the whole enemy system with that character. Some of them have weapons, some of them don't, but what they usually do is they attack you, and with the whole slash and stuff. And yeah, of course, it's not like the Ganagos from Resident Evil 4, nothing like that, but it's pretty unique what they did with that. Also, we got the lichens. The lichens are very interesting too, because when I first saw these, I thought they were just gonna be like a normal type of werewolf. They attack you and then they bite you, stuff like that, which is cool, and they obviously do that. But some of them end up having bows and they start attacking you like that. Flame bows, they hit you with that. And others, some of them are just fully geared up and ready to attack. They already have a helmet and stuff, so it's pretty cool. The downfall with those characters is they're pretty easy to kill, especially with a shotgun. Those characters could die quite easily. So, it's a good and it's a bad thing. And we also got the Samka. The Samka is a demonic looking bat type of character where, they come in the pack and they come and attack you because they're flying characters, and you use a specific type of weapons to take them down. I personally use the shotgun when I take on these enemies. Well, yeah, they're just a flying demonic look type. They come in the pack and they're quite annoying to deal with, especially when you're in a small spot in the story. Oh my god, you get a few nightmares dealing with these. But it was pretty cool nonetheless. But yeah, and we have a few more. I just don't want to spoil it. But there are a few more that later on in the game. These are the ones that come out pretty early on, so you don't have to worry about me spoiling something really big. But what I did enjoy about this game was they did add a couple more features about the overall atmosphere of the game. So first of all, yes, the game is still horror based, very horror based, and it's kind of cool. But they also added more action stuff. Very similar to, I wouldn't say Resident Evil 6, more like Resident Evil 4, where yeah, there's action, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't go very extreme. The action's pretty cool. It makes it more faster paced, and there's certain areas in the game where that's all it is, and it's not a big deal because, like I said, it's still horror based. But there's a couple things that just get you super pumped up. So it's very cool that they did that. Plus, they also did something that I've been asking for, was make it more psychological horror, which they did. There is a whole section in the game that just makes you go through something that's psychological, and it just makes you look like, what? Why is it like this? Hold on, wait, stuff like that. And it's very cool that they did that. I've been asking that because Resident Evil 7 introduced something like that, and it looked very cool, but I thought they could kick it up a notch, and they did, and I'm so glad they did. So good on you, Capcom, for doing something that I actually really wanted. So that's great. But enough talking about that. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes on this thing. Let's talk about the story. So the story is all about Ethan Winters once again, and I'm very mad that Ethan Winters is back. I had problems with him in the previous game. I just didn't like his personality. He was just so bland and boring. It was like, why are you bringing him back? Thank God they did fix him though. This game, he has more of a personality. You can see that he's scared and sad and worried. So it's very cool they did that. But I'm just kind of disappointed they brought back his character. I'm not a fan when Resident Evil consistently uses the same characters back to back in sequels. Like, I love to see characters come back, don't get me wrong. I love when Leon comes back in a video game. I love when I see Ada again. I love stuff like that. But they don't come out back to back. They usually come out the game after, or a few games, They don't do it consistently. So we saw Ethan again. I was like, are you for reals? Like, really? And I wasn't really happy when I heard Chris was in the game. Oh my god. Let's just continue off. Yeah, so Ethan is with his wife Mia and his daughter Rosemary, or Rose for sure. And all of a sudden, Chris comes in and attacks them, and he kills Mia on the spot. And he kidnaps Ethan and Rose. And then Ethan wakes up in a European village, not knowing what is going on, and he hears that Rose is in that castle that's in the village, and it's all up to Ethan to go save Rose. And yeah, it's pretty cool that that we are in a similar location as Resident Evil 4. You know, nice, it's just like nice familiarity. So it's pretty cool that they're rocking with this. And I gotta say, the map looks very cool. It looks dope because each section of the map looks quite unique. You know, from the village itself to the castle and a little bit more afterwards, it's pretty dope. But yeah, it was really cool how they introduced all these things, and with all the boss type characters like Lady Democris. I really loved her character. She was a really dope character in this game, you know, and then learning about her lore that you will see in the files and stuff that I don't want to talk about, but Lady Democris is very cool and very unique, and it doesn't really break the immersion of Resident Evil, especially with the Democris daughters. You know, a lot of people have big fears about it because Resident Evil was going a little bit far out. It was the same fear that I had with Resident Evil 7, where I thought Ghost was actually going to be in the game. But no, this is very consistent with the story and the lore and the overall Resident Evil. And there's a lot of callbacks with previous Resident Evil titles. I'm not just talking about gameplay either. There's callbacks with, you know, previous characters and stuff. And then you get to see a couple unanswered questions in this game. So I gotta give Capcom a lot of props, because this is a really fan fave game. Like, this is, I think the fans would have really liked. And it's really cool that they did all this stuff. It's pretty cool. But let's talk about the negatives real quick. Well, the negatives are, there are some sections of the game that are quite slow. Like, there's a couple sections in the map that I wasn't really fond upon. It just wasn't cool. I don't know. I just got really bored for some parts of the section, but it wasn't that big enough to me to get very mad, because overall the game is great. Don't get me wrong, but there's just small little pieces of the game that I wasn't really fond upon. It just wasn't it. And then once again, talking that Chris is back in this game. I know I brought up the whole Ethan's returning, but I'm very mad Chris is in this game. I'm not happy that Chris is back, because he was in Resident Evil 5, 6, 7. Now he's in 8. There's so many Resident Evil characters. Some that haven't been on a mainline game in a while, like Claire. There are some that obviously deserves to be in this game because it's about that time, like Leon. And there are some characters that haven't even came back, like Jill. So there's a couple things that I was very mad about, especially with Chris coming back. Thank God Chris is a good character, and I don't hate him, but I'm just saying it's quite annoying. But overall, I said the game was very good, very interesting. I really love the story. This is a great story. This game is so much better than Resident Evil 7. It fixed all the complaints that I've been complaining about in Resident Evil 7. So overall, I have to give this game an 8 out of 10. Great game, excellent game, beautiful looking game. Just a couple of slow things that I wasn't really fond of. But that will be it. Tell me in the comments down below how y'all feel about Resident Evil 8. Did you love the game? Did you hate the game? Do you hate that the game is first person or not and stuff like that? Tell me in the comments down below. I really love to know. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm out. Deuces.